Hello there guys, welcome back to Younes Talks Football, welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all of you are doing well today, a better day today, fingers crossed, after the abysmal performance we saw yesterday where Chelsea got absolutely battered by Brentford at home 4-1. Never thought I'd see the day, but there you are. Then again, it's funny because it was only after I posted my review and all of that yesterday that I found out it's pretty much nearly by a day off. Exactly a year to the day where Chelsea had that freak result against West Brom, if you remember. And you look at what happened after that. It all went in our favour. So hopefully, going into the Real Madrid game, it all goes in our favour. But, you can't expect history to keep repeating itself. That's not the way life works. That's just not the way it is. But we can hope. We can hope that we go and we play against Real Madrid and we put in a much better performance than we saw against Brentford. Fingers crossed. Because trust me, we play like we did yesterday against Brentford, against Real Madrid. We might as well not even turn up. We might as well give man of the match to Karim Benzema. And we might as well just let Real Madrid go through to the semi-final. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully Chelsea are on their A game when it comes to playing against Real Madrid in midweek. Fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens there. Watch along for that will be here, so make sure you guys are tuned in. It won't be a case like yesterday where there won't be a watch along. There will be a watch along for it, and then the review afterwards, so fingers crossed. Now, obviously, we've all heard what's been going on around Chelsea Football Club, the Ricketts, the bids and whatnot, and the controversy around what seems like the favoritism, the preferential treatment that the Ricketts are getting. Based on the protest of yesterday, we've had the results of the survey that the Chelsea Supporters Trust have conducted, and it came back with 77% of people against the bid by the Ricketts. Since that point, though, and this was funny because at the protest yesterday, there was news about a statement that had been released by Tom Ricketts himself. Tom Ricketts himself releasing a statement saying that how he looks forward to hopefully a successful bid, and he looks forward to engage with various fan groups and aligning the values of the Ricketts with that of Chelsea Football Club, and the sort of thing you expect to hear, basically. Well, today there's been more by the Ricketts themselves. And this is an 8-point pledge, an 8-point commitment of what they are going to bring. And personally, I've been waiting to see something like this, right? I've been waiting for them to actually tell us what they are going to do. We've heard from Todd Bowley and all the others in terms of what they would like to accomplish, what they would like to bring, what they would, without saying too much, because you don't say too much. That's what Nick Candy tried to do, and he didn't have much substance. But you want to give an outline as to what your plan is. That way it reassures everyone. The Ricketts have finally come to that. So let's go through it and see exactly what they've said. Here's their 8-point pledge. So, the Rickett family's commitment to Chelsea, an 8-point pledge. Make no change to the club's name, badge and crest or Chelsea blue without the consent of supporters. That in itself, I don't think anyone can argue with that. Fair enough. Okay. Point 2. Never participate in a European Super League and always protect the integrity and heritage of Chelsea FC. Well, that sounds fantastic, right? That sounds fantastic. That is definitely something I think all of us want to hear in terms of never playing a European Super League. You never know though, innit? Because the next thing is, who knows, it might not be called the European Super League. It might be called something completely different. It might be called a World Series. Who knows? It might actually be called the World Series. And, these teams start coming in. All of a sudden, Chelsea's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, let's go and play it. Yeah, But, again, that's for the future. That's something that we're just going to have to face if the time arises. And then, if there's a reaction from it, we'll see. But, okay, never participate in an ESL and always protect the integrity and heritage of Chelsea FC. Cool. Sounds great. Okay. By the way, before we get on to point 3, I'm going to show you this just really, really quickly. Why does it look like this was made in, notes on an iPhone? Or, I don't know, I don't have an iPhone, so I can't give you the exact name, but it looks like, just, when you take notes on an iPhone, it looks like that's where it's been made. I mean, okay, you'd think with a massive budget, multi-million billionaires, if you want to even call that a thing, right? Million billionaires. You'd think they'd probably do something better. But anyway, point number 3. Commit the resources necessary across all levels of the club to continue winning trophies, including investing in the first team, experienced football leadership, and the academy. Okay, again, sounds like something that we all want to hear. That is on paper. You read that and you think, fantastic, great. Commit the resources necessary across all levels of the club to continue winning trophies. Okay. Investing in the first team, experienced football leadership, and the academy. Experienced football leadership, what does that necessarily mean? But anyway, the academy and whatnot, cool. There's going to be investment at all levels. Happy days. Point number 4. Put diversity and inclusion at the heart of the club and fight against any form of discrimination or inequality. This was the main point against the Ricketts, was the fact that Joe Ricketts, Tom Ricketts' dad, between 2009 and 2013, had various leaked emails come out talking about how Islamophobic he is and how Islam is the enemy and Muslims are this and that. And it's just like, okay, no. Can't be having any of that. At the end of the day, look, people, I don't want to come across and be like, okay, the Ricketts have changed. If they acknowledge and they change, then happy days. But you can never be sure. This is my problem. You can never be sure with something like that. Whereas when you look at others who have put bids in for the club that don't have that history in the first place, that it's not there, that makes me feel a little more safe. That's my thing here. Why take the risk when we have various other bids on the table that are cool enough for us to be able to move forward as a football club? Anyway, have they changed? Have they not? Words are one thing, action's going to be another. But that can only be shown after they've bought the football club, which is a risk. Anyway, we'll see. Point number 5. Create an advisory committee with diverse representation to ensure our decisions are informed by a former men's and women's first team player, members of the CST and Chelsea pitch owners, and influential community leaders. Out of all the points so far, this is the one that's actually struck to me. This is actually something constructive. This is something new. We don't have it. It's a good idea. This is one that I look at and go, okay, I'm on board with that one, 100%. Create an advisory committee with diverse representation. Again, the whole diverse representation, it's nice to have. At the end of the day, what I want are people qualified to make the decisions, regardless of their background. Or, I don't want people to actually be like, okay, we have to employ this person because of their background. That's counterproductive. I want people, if it's going to be diverse, fantastic, but people that are qualified enough to be able to make the decisions that need to be made or come with something constructive to help the club. So when they say that are going to ensure decisions are informed by a former men's and women's first team player, cool, that's great. Someone that's been there in terms of the men's game, someone that's been there in terms of the women's game, members of the Chelsea Supporters Trust and the Chelsea pitch owners, fantastic. The two pretty much biggest fan sort of bodies that we have at the club, and influential community leaders, which is fantastic. That's great. So in terms of all the points so far, that struck out to me. Cool. Let's move on to point 6. Explore every option to redevelop Stamford Bridge and do everything in our power to keep playing in this historic stadium. This is one where it feels a bit weird. This is a little sticky. Explore every option to redevelop Stamford Bridge and do everything in our power to keep playing in this historic stadium. Well, you will have the power because you'll be the owners of Chelsea Football Club. The problem with Stamford Bridge is the size, is the location. So if we're redeveloping Stamford Bridge, it's on you to know how many seats you want in that stadium. Because if it crosses about, this is my estimate, if it crosses about 65,000, it's not going to be big enough to redevelop a Stamford Bridge. Or it's going to be too big for us to redevelop a Stamford Bridge. We're going to have to move. The space around Stamford Bridge is so restricted. And the stadium plan that we had under Roman, if you guys remember that design, that, sort of, it was like a very bricky sort of look to Stamford Bridge and what it would look like. That was kind of done within a very tight margin in terms of how much we could actually stretch it out. And the projection of the seats in that ground was, if I'm not mistaken, about 62 or 63,000 people. So in terms of making it even larger, you can't, because there are train tracks that can't be disrupted. There's residential areas that can't be disrupted. There is more residents at the back. There's the main road, and then residents, that can't be disrupted. And even if you want to dig deep underground, you can't, because there's the underground going through it. Fulham Broadway is directly underneath the ground, or pretty much next to it. So to try and dig underneath, big problem. You can't, because there's trains going underneath the ground. So there's a certain limit that you can, there's a certain parameter that you have to adhere by. Now, if that is cool, then we stay. But if you want something bigger, surely you already know that. Coming into this bid, buying Chelsea Football Club, you already know that. So to try and say we're going to do everything in our power to keep playing in this historic stadium, well, no, it's a very easy decision. You get to make it. Do you want it more than 63,000 or 65,000 people? If you do, we're going to have to move. And some of you will go, yeah, there's no problem with that. There is. The Chelsea pitch owners. That's the problem. The Chelsea pitch owners. The pitch at Stamford Bridge, that grass is not owned by Roman Abramovich. It's not owned by anyone else except the Chelsea pitch owners. It's a separate entity. It's owned by them. And all the people that have invested, that have shares in the Chelsea pitch owners, consist of old players, old managers, old board members, old fans that have passed, that are not with us anymore. Fans across the world own shares at Stamford Bridge. If you want to buy a share, you can go and buy one now. Go on the Chelsea pitch owners website. You can buy yourself a share of the pitch at Stamford Bridge. You can't just pick that up and move it somewhere else. There are legal ties. There's all sorts of issues and things in terms of paperwork and whatnot, and legalities. You can't just pick up the pitch and move it somewhere else. You can't. So if we move, where do the Chelsea pitch owners stand? That's the problem. So yeah, look, the Ricketts, in terms of point number 6, bit of a contradiction there. It doesn't seem like they've actually thought about that and thought about the actual role of the Chelsea pitch owners and what they actually are for. So anyway, point number 7. Match the current commitment to Chelsea FC women and increase the number of women's matches played at Stamford Bridge. The current commitment to Chelsea women is fantastic. In terms of the number of matches they play at Stamford Bridge, I don't see why we could if we wanted to, but Chelsea have Kings Meadow, which now belongs to the women's team. That is their ground. So what do we do with Kings Meadow? And it seemed like they loved it. Everyone that loved it, it was appropriate enough to move them to Stamford Bridge. They do play at Stamford Bridge from time to time, but only big important games. We're talking Champions League semi-finals and whatnot. Even then, they played at Kings Meadow last season. So yeah, again, that's going to be up to the women's team and whether they're happy to move to Stamford Bridge or they want to keep Kings Meadow, because the Kings Meadow dynamic is something I know that they like, the fans like, the women supporters, so the Chelsea fans that go to Kings Meadow to watch those games seem to like it very much. Again, that's going to be something that if they're going to be happy with, then cool. Point number 8. Continue the vital charitable work of the Chelsea Foundation, seeking to use the power of football and sport to, and then the note doesn't actually show us, again, they typed this stuff on an iPhone note. I don't really know what's said after that, but you get the gist. The charitable work of the Chelsea Foundation. The Chelsea Foundation is a big part of all this. Let's have it right. So they've said the right things. Now, in terms of what's coming with all of this today, they've managed to put this 8-point pledge, right? One of them I have an issue with. One of them is actually really good. But there's more in terms of the Ricketts bid. Let me show you. This broke out last night. And it's a little bit of a weird one. But it could be a really good thing or it could be a really bad thing. So you guys get to make the mind up here. Check this out. Exclusive. Rock Entertainment Group, owner of a string of US sports teams and backed by Dan Gilbert, one of America's richest men, has agreed to back the bid for Chelsea Football Club, being led by the Ricketts family and hedge fund tycoon Ken Griffin. The article on Sky News goes on to talk about this entire happening. Cleveland Cavaliers owners join Cubs and Griffin bid team. Now, for those that don't actually know, this is who Dan Gilbert is. His net worth is, well, here its real-time estimate is $22 billion. Ken Griffin, we already know, is about $28.2 billion. But it's been rumoured through this. Sky sources said on Saturday evening that Rock Entertainment Group had agreed to invest a significant, undisclosed sum in the Ricketts bid. The emergence of Dan Gilbert, one of the richest people in America. His net worth is $31 billion, as to where we had over here, it says 22, so I'm not quite sure which one it is. As a participant, raises the stakes still further. This is, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The Ricketts are going to take Chelsea Football Club. I've come to peace with that now. It's going to happen. There is just no way. There is no way that a group that has already had some sort of contact with Bruce Buck, that seems to be given a lot of leeway, that is being pushed by the Rain Group, that has already had a previous acquisition with the Rain Group, who are managing this sale, who are now being backed not just by Ken Griffin, who had a lot of money in terms of his net worth already, his company, Citadel, all of that. But now, Dan Gilbert, on top of this, there is no way anyone competes with this. There is no way. Not Todd Bowley, not no one. No one is going to compete with this. Because there is already a likening from the Rain Group and Bruce Buck to the Ricketts and their entire bid, and now they're coming out with pledges, what they're going to do, which is what we've been waiting to hear, but what they're going to do, now they're being backed by Dan Gilbert, one of the richest men in America. You can't compete. You can't compete. Now, my fear, right, everything that we've heard in terms of what they've said on the pledge, happy days, right, but actions are going to speak louder than words, and we'll probably see it when it happens. The Americanization of Chelsea Football Club, if this goes through, could actually happen. I hope it doesn't. I hope the values and Chelsea Football Club as it is, you know, the values that we adhere to in terms of what we stand for, how we conduct ourselves, what our legacy is and our history is and what's led us to this point as an English football club, one of the best. We don't want to get the same treatment when you look at some other sports that have been like a Formula One, for example. You can see the Americanization in Formula One now. It's right in front of your eyes. I don't want that at Chelsea Football Club, man. I don't want us to become a franchise. Whereas now we're looking at a Dan Gilbert who is, I mean, he runs Rock Entertainment Group, who are literally owning multiple franchises in the United States, okay? Alongside Ken Griffin, one of the biggest marketing financial companies in the United States, Citadel, coming behind the Ricketts, who already own the Cubs and whatnot. I hope this doesn't turn into Chelsea Football Club being used as an asset to just generate more money, and that's it. And what happens on the pitch, we don't care. Or the identity of the club changes into something which is just, you know, that what we were scared of when we were looking at the European Super League, and we were looking at the vultures that we knew were going to come in and invest in a European Super League, and it will turn into a proper Americanization of football. I don't want Chelsea to fall as the first victim to that. Some would already argue it's happened at Man United and Arsenal, the Cronkies and the Glazers and whatnot. On a commercial level, probably. That's at the detriment of what has happened on the pitch. For us, I don't want us to become the first big, because this is a big bid. You're talking about 31 billion net worth, 28 billion net worth. The Ricketts, they have a few billion net worth. This is big money behind this. They have all the power. So we have to be careful here. Personally, I've got a bad gut feeling. We'll see though. As I've said yesterday, the protest happened. It wasn't a huge protest. If 77% of the people on the Chelsea Supporters Trust are against it, all right, cool. But in terms of actually vocalizing opinion before anything happens, we haven't heard too much about it. Let's be honest, we haven't. So whatever happens, happens. And people are going to have to deal with the consequences. If it turns out to be fantastic, great. Everyone's a winner. We're all happy. Brilliant, right? And it doesn't disrupt what we've built as a legacy and Chelsea Football Club moving forward. Fantastic. But if it goes in the direction that a few people seem to be scared about, we tried to stop it in the first place and it didn't. So it is what it is. But look, people have said, give the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what happens. Well, let's see what happens. Cool. Here we go. Anyway, the 8-point pledge has been made by the Ricketts. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Let me know below. In terms of Rock Entertainment Group, Dan Gilbert backing Ken Griffin and the Ricketts even further, what do you think? And yeah, personally, my own opinion, the Ricketts are going to be the new owners of Chelsea Football Club. I'm pretty sure. I would be shocked if they don't. I would be shocked. But hey, we'll see with a very close eye how they run Chelsea Football Club. And that's going to have to be done. A very, very close eye. Very close eye. And then again, Arsenal fans said the same about Kroenke. United fans said the same about the Glazers. I mean, it's up to them to prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. Simple as that. Prove us wrong. For those that are skeptical, prove us wrong. Ricketts. There we are. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscription button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to be notified once I've uploaded. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. And again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I will catch you guys tomorrow for a brand new video. Have a good one, people. See you tomorrow. Take care and peace.